you know one of the most dollar productive things that we can do in real estate, but we never talk about it?
If you could go back to before you had the wealth that you've got today from your hard work, how would you do things differently, do you think, if you knew then what you know now?
As real estate agents, we are all obsessed with how do we get better and how do we write more business.
I'm going to assume it's something to do with relationships.
Yeah.
If you're going to be the best at some things, other things have to sacrifice, whether it's health, relationships, friends. To be the best at something and be laser focused 100%, something else.
I regret not living a better life in my 20s.
Agents, welcome to the Get Keen podcast, your number one destination for learning how to get the most out of your real estate career. I'm Dan Lee, founder of Plum Property, one of Queensland's largest independent real estate offices, and Plum Partners, where we've helped dozens of agents create, run and grow their very own agencies. On Get Keen, I chat to high-performing agents, principals, and agency owners, so you have the tools, strategies, and insights to grow your business and live the best life for yourself and your family. Now let's get keen. All right, welcome back to Get Keen. We're live at AREC. And if you didn't manage to get down to the Gold Coast this weekend for this once a year event, and really it's once in a lifetime because the speakers, they're not around every year, the same speakers. And we had some amazing talent on stage over the last 2 days, one of which is one of my favorite humans in real estate. I say this because he's very generous with his time. He's very open about his life, his successes, his failures, and he's been through so much and he loves to give back to the real estate community. He's the director of one of Bresic Whitney's most successful offices in Sydney. He's an extremely talented, high-performing real estate agent and also a great leader. I'm speaking about my main man, Adrian Oddie. Thanks so much for being here with us today. To get your time, half an hour, it's truly special, so I appreciate that.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you.
How was it firstly on stage at AREC yesterday in front of the crowd?
Yeah, surreal.
Yeah.
It's so wild. I don't remember like even a minute of the talk. It was just, I remembered the build up. And then I'd practiced a fair bit and I just got up there and that's it.
And it happened.
It just happened.
You're a pretty cool, calm, collected guy. Were you nervous?
Yeah, definitely. I was nervous because of the crowd for obvious reasons. I was nervous about what I was going to share. So I sort of made a point of not necessarily sharing my highlight reel on stage. It was more about maybe some of the mistakes I'd made so people could learn from that. And like, it was quite a journey when I got asked to talk. Like when AREC reached out or Izzy reached out and said, would you like to talk? Like I felt this wave of emotion come over me because like it's my 23rd year in real estate. And I used to look at the AREC stage and it was like an aspiration of mine to be on there.
Yeah. But
that sort of disappeared in the last few years. So I felt this sense of responsibility and I've had like nerves and then I felt like a bit emotional about it. So I've had this, it's been a whole journey, but the beauty of AREC and what it's given back to me is it's allowed me to go on like this enormous deep dive of my career and to think back and, you know, I've reflected on some of the good times, some of the bad times, and it's been one hell of a journey.
Yeah, for sure. And mate, let's talk about some of those good and bad times because you're such an accomplished guy. You know, heights of success in real estate sales, luxury market in some of Sydney's finest prestige areas, great company that you work for, Bresic Whitney. And, you know, in the last couple of years, you've had some difficult times. Can you take us through, you know, what sort of happened and, you know, where your career's gone and how you look at things now?
Yeah, of course. Well, essentially, maybe I can take you back sort of to 2021.
Please.
And we can go from there.
Yeah.
So 2021 was like a really fundamental year in my life. I was approaching 40. It was the year that I'd sort of clocked up 104 sales, my best year up until that point in real estate. Life felt pretty good. Like I was madly in love with my wife, 2 beautiful kids. We'd renovated an amazing house in Bondi Beach, which is the suburb that I really wanted to live in. We then subsequently sold that house and made quite a tidy profit on it. And like everything sort of on the surface looked good. And I definitely felt like I was ticking boxes and I was saying to myself, well done. Like I had this sort of view on what, you know, where I should be. And I felt like I was going there. And it's interesting because what I share in my talk, and I took that momentum into 2022 as well. But what I share in my talk is when I look back that was probably the unhappiest year of my life. And I say that because most of that year I was on autopilot. I certainly equated happiness to sales and to income, but it left me asking myself, if I've sold 104 properties and I've written whatever it is in GCI, like, why am I not happy? And I lost a bit of myself that year, and I lost connection to everybody around me because I was just like, I didn't give the example yesterday when I spoke, but like I might have had 15, 16, 17 owners at once. It was like COVID, there were lockdown periods. We're selling, a property at a time with people going through one at a time, like that sort of period in New South Wales. Like it was a lot. And then for me, it all came crumbling down because just in chronological order, at the end of 2022, I separated with my wife. It's just something that I can't tell you, nothing has ever floored me as much as that separation. And it's not like something happened. It was, and the way I describe it to people, it's like when you go to a cafe or a restaurant and you see two people there, but they're on their phones and they're not connecting. It was that slow, debilitating loss of daily connection that I had with my partner, which I accept responsibility for. And I also lost the slow sort of connection to myself and what made me happy, because I was just on autopilot. So I separated. I got pretty angry at the end of 2022 because, I'd said to myself, I've done everything that society, the industry, perhaps even my parents thought I should do. Like, I've done it. Beautiful kids, wife, house. I've done it all. Money. And I sort of blame real estate at that point, and I was like, it's real estate's fault. I want to get out. My life coach at the time said to me, rather than getting out, why don't you consider just having 12 months out of the game? And you don't have to get out, but why don't you just think about things differently? So that's what I did. I thought, if I'm going to do real estate, I only want to work for the clients that I like, that are motivated. I don't want to answer my phone anymore, so I diverted my phone. I don't want to deal with emails, so I did that, and I set my team up. So it meant that I was still in the game, but out of the game. I was essentially, only working a couple days a week for most of 2023. But then I found out in June that year, I ended up in hospital with some stomach cramps, but they did a scan, and when I got home, I got a phone call from the doctor, and they said, we found some lesions on your kidney. And those lesions turned out to be kidney cancer. It's so wild, yeah. And there's these 6 genes which give you like a predisposition to kidney cancer. I don't have any of them. And, I don't really drink. I don't party. I don't do things like that. I'm a pretty healthy guy. So mine was purely lifestyle driven. And when I asked the doctor, because kidney cancer is very slow growing, his best guess is that I probably developed that in 2021. So it's not a surprise for me, because I was pushing. My intensity was like a 13 out of 10. Stupid.
Right.
So if you fast forward, I found out in June. I had an operation in August, so I had it cut out. But I emerged from that operation a different person. And there were points, I mentioned this in my talk yesterday. There were 2 pivotal points, and they were both in the lead up to the operation. And that's because in the lead up to the operation, I'd never been so scared in my whole life. Like, when I found out I had cancer, and I'm also very lucky because it was super early detection. It was a grade 2, that's how they labeled it.
Yeah.
I never for a second, because I have children, thought this will get the better of me. I will beat this. It was like this, I guess, the one point where my stubbornness actually sort of benefited me. I was like, I'm going to beat this. But the reason why I was scared in the lead up to the operation, because the only part of the process I didn't have control over was the 4-hour procedure and how my body would react. So the 2 key points for me was I had to leave videos for my kids. I left them a video, and I hope that no one ever has to do this.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, I left videos because I wanted them to hear from me, not from somebody else, but from their father direct. And I thought maybe they can listen to this when they're 20, they're old enough, because they're 5 and 7 now.
Yeah.
Who I am, what my values are, what I stand for, how I felt about them, what I wanted for them, and how I felt about their mother. That was important too. Even things like, in particular, I mentioned, when I found out, when Chloe told me that she was pregnant, and just the excitement that I felt. And I felt my grandparents would pass in the car with me because it's just all I wanted in my life. So I was so happy. So recording that video was hard. And then the night before the operation, that was where I actually fell apart. And again, I was at my parents' house. We all went for dinner. I just could not stop crying. And I was just so angry and ashamed at myself that I let it get to that point. And what I mean by that is I kept asking myself, why didn't I spend more time with my kids? Why didn't I spend more time with my wife? Why didn't I spend more time with my parents, my brother, my sister? More meals, more travel, more experiences. The stuff that like when I know I'm being dramatic because statistically I was going to survive that operation. But when you're faced with that, they're the questions you ask yourself. You don't actually say, why don't I work a little bit harder? I did not think about work. But I also acknowledge that my work meant that I had the best doctor and I was in the best hospital. So I'm not taken away from that because that's obviously important. It's just the balance of the two. So I just emerged from that like a different person. There's one more thing that I didn't share in the talk because I didn't have time. The operation was September, but when I went back in December to get the all clear, they found a lump in my throat.
Oh, far out.
And they thought it was thyroid cancer, and they biopsied it, and it came back inconclusive, and they recommended that I have an operation. And I didn't have the mental stamina at that point because I just come out of it, and it's like you're on a bit of a high. And I'm like, I can't go back into hospital. I don't want to lose half my thyroid. I don't want to be on medication. So I took a chance. I said to the doctor, if this is cancer, because the option was to go back in 3 months again and get it biopsied. If it is cancer, what are the chances of it spreading? He said, very low. And so I just said, I'll take my chances. I'll see you back here in March. So I went back in March and thank God I got the all clear and it wasn't cancer.
Oh, good.
I went against the advice I got, which was to have the operation. So it was quite a journey with cancer. It was almost a 12-month one. But again, like when I think about all that, I don't even know how to process it if I'm honest.
Yeah.
Like, fuck, it was just really lingered for a while. Like I wish I didn't have that. I wish I just had the all clear and it was done.
Yeah.
But again, there's a happy ending here and I'm the happiest I've ever been and I'm incredibly health conscious now. You know, I'm the best dad I've ever been. I think I'm the best boss I've ever been. I think I'm the best agent I've ever been. This year will be my best year ever. Last year was better than 2021, but I did it without the intensity. And I think I'm kinder to myself than I've ever been. I think I'm the happiest I've ever been because you know what's crazy about us agents, and not agents, but ambitious people, we are so driven that we're so narrowly focused on what we want. And sometimes what we think makes us happy, but we never actually stop and ask, what does make you happy? And I didn't know how to answer that in 2021. And if I did, my calendar would have looked different. Like my calendar, I spoke about on the talk yesterday that I was taught by my wellness coach, Lincoln Westerman, around this concept of energy management. And I know energy management and routines and all that sort of stuff is just like starting to become overdone. But Lincoln said to me, how you manage your diary is how you manage your energy. And I'll just share what that concept meant for me. So firstly, like in a practical sense, if I do midweek open houses on a Wednesday, there's no point me scheduling 4 listen appointments on a Tuesday because all that's going to do to my energy is I'll do it. I need to follow up, but I'm doing open houses. So by Wednesday night, I'm chaotic and I'm scattered. So I know that what I should be doing is maybe 2 listen appointments maximum. And then I could get back to 1 in the morning on Wednesday and perhaps 1, and I can schedule with them when I'm going to get back to them. Manage your time, manage your energy. And maybe take out the word energy, manage your headspace. Because most agents I know, their head's always spinning. And I can see it. I can see when I'm talking to a lot of high-performing agents, they are there, but they're not there, if that makes sense. They're thinking about the 20 calls that they need to make and the emails and the clients and the buyers and the deals and, so I get all that. So the concept I explained was I have a calendar that I print out. So like at the end of last year's a 2025 calendar, all that's marked out on it in green is the school holidays. My view is I'm going to carve out with intention at the start of the year when I'm not going to be in real estate mode. And the way I live my life is now I arrive at a holiday not feeling like I need a holiday because I use every day to recharge my batteries. Like I'm here. I've already been down to the beach this morning. Yeah. I've had a swim. I've been on the sand. I just sat there. I took it in. I had a nice coffee, had some good conversation. Like these are all the things that perhaps like I consciously chose to do that. Whereas maybe a couple of years ago, I just would have maybe woken up, did some work on the laptop, and come straight here with a coffee.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's
And not experience the whole day.
not experience that amazing sunlight and, the water and things like that. The other thing, so I manage my calendar. That's the yearly calendar. So I know when I'm having breaks. I'll share something else that I didn't share at AREC yesterday in a second. The other thing is I never look at my diary in 24-hour increments anymore. I only look at my diary in 7-day increments.
Mm-hmm.
And before I schedule in a work appointment, I schedule in life. And I have a checklist, I could show you, it's on my phone, of all the stuff that makes me happy. So firstly, because I co-parent 50-50, the very first thing I do is I schedule in my PT sessions. I go to the gym every day that I don't have the kids. That's the first thing I do. Every week I schedule in 2 dinners with friends of mine so that I socialize. I also schedule in a coffee with somebody, just an early morning coffee somewhere. I schedule in multiple saunas. So I have a sauna and an ice bath at home, but I sauna 6 days a week. But what I do is I look to invite 3 people over so that I use it as a social event. I do some by myself, some like these are the little things. I love getting like a massage. So I schedule my massage in. So I put all that in the diary. I color code it. It's blue. And then all the work stuff is yellow. And there are rules around what can go into every day. And because of that, I feel so much more calm. I can't tell you. Like I'm here today at AREC this week. My diary is completely under control for the minute. I've scheduled everything. Like I am very organized because I'm very intentional. And that helps with my energy and my headspace.
Hey guys, just quickly, if you're loving this content and you're a real estate agent that's already thinking what it might be like to have your own real estate business and brand, then check out the show notes. There'll be a link to our Plum Partners website where you can leave an inquiry and me or one of my team members will reach out. We help agents to create, run and grow their own real estate business and brand so they can earn more and set up a better future for themselves. So get keen, get in touch. Now let's get back to the episode. Mate, I absolutely love the sound of that, right? It sounds awesome. Schedule your work around your perfect lifestyle. Some agents would listen to this and go, yeah, but Adrian, you've already had 10 years of success at the top of your game. You made the money, you got the house, you got that safety net of good wealth and income so that you can do these things, right? It's easy for you to say that now. Yeah, I'll do that in 10 years too. I'm still trying to get there, right? I'm still trying to pay off my first house and get some investment properties and get to the next level. But if you could go back to before you had the wealth that you've got today from your hard work, how would you do things differently, do you think, if you know what you know now, if you knew then what you know now?
That's really interesting, and I've had this conversation. So in my immediate team, I have Jasmine Anglesey, who's 28, who's an emerging agent. And I have Jack Parry. And Jack is early 30s and he's starting to do very well now and will probably sell 35 properties this year. Jasmine and Jack live a healthy life. And the difference is that all the things that I schedule in, I don't see why Jasmine and Jack can't schedule those things in. They can go to the gym. You don't have to be like wealthy or in your 40s to go to the gym. You can schedule dinners with your friends. Why can't you do that? You have to understand what makes you happy. None of the stuff I'm doing costs money. To have a sauna does not cost money. Or it might be if you go to a place, but you might swap that out with something else. So I encourage my team to have a life outside. So I get it. What you said is this: I'm paying off my first house. I'm trying to buy investment properties. Okay, if that's the story you're telling yourself, fine. You're putting yourself under pressure and bury yourself at work for 12 hours a day. Fine. Like, I regret not living a better life in my 20s. I didn't have a mid-year holiday till I was 35. I regret that.
Wow. Yeah.
Like, would I be in a different position today? Not really. And when you talk about wealth, I'm twice divorced. I ain't got that much wealth. Like, let's just be real. But I am okay with that because that's not what I'm anchoring my life around. Like, what's my bank account look like? No, I have put myself consciously and intentionally and in a place where I earn sufficient income, which makes me happy. Could I go out and double my sales? Maybe not double, but could I add 50%? Absolutely. Just say goodbye to all the blue in my calendar, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I did mention in my talk yesterday, like, why are you doing this? One of the things that I stopped, and I think it is different for for a younger generation, because I'm 43 now. I don't think Jasmine and Jack have the same aspirations that I had. And I think it's different because I bought my first property at 21. It was 200 grand. The government gave me, there was no stamp duty, and I think they gave me $15,000 as an incentive. And all I did was I bought it, did a quick reno, and was already positively geared. Like, those days are gone. So my aspirations, back over 20 years ago, it was a lot easier to get into the property market. So I find that the younger generation, they just have different goals to us. And in fact, I'm quite envious of the way they live. Like, they're living these happy, wholesome lives, but not at the expense of, like, they're just not going 12 out of 10 on their career. But they seem to balance it quite well, and they seem to be earning great money and living good lives. So I would say to someone, oh, okay, well, like, if they were pushing back on me saying you can do all that stuff, okay, there are other things that I do that cost money. Like, for example, I have a sauna at home. Yeah, granted, okay, I bought that, and I have, like, other things that I've got at home. But a lot of the stuff, just going out and being in the sun in the morning, that doesn't cost anything. Catching up with your friends, scheduling time to see your friends doesn't cost anything. Maybe treating yourself to a massage a week. I mean, it's not, like, I don't want to sound insensitive, but hobefully, like, that's a possibility for you. If not, do it every 2 weeks. If not, do it once a month. Listening to a podcast, being around your family, or a hobby that you like. That's just what I stand for now. It's so hard to put into practice around, like, well, I can tell you how I've changed, but my observation of the industry is, in particular the top performers, is that they grind so hard. They do that in quarters, and they go and have a holiday. And they arrive at the holiday basically broken. And by the time they've recharged, they go back and do it again. I say to everybody, there is beauty in every day. You just have to stop and be present enough. I just had a beautiful conversation with a lady across the road from where we're recording this right now, who just came up to me and said, I really enjoyed your speech. And we just had a really nice conversation, and I gave her a hug. And I was like, thank you for, like, saying, that's one of the highlights of my day. That didn't cost anything. You don't have to be 43 writing millions of dollars in GCI to stop and have a moment like that.
Yeah.
But you do have to have the foresight to control your emotions, control your headspace, to manage your energy, so that you can still go through the day and be present. That's my messaging at this, that's what I would say.
Yeah. I love success is a different thing to you now compared to your, highest performance days in, transactions, etc. And that's a great message to get across, because we're all pushed as agents to be the best, to be the number one, to catch the guy that's in front of you, to grab the market share and forget everything else. That's the message that's always pushed towards us. And then we let other things go in our life, because everything, if you're going to be the best at some things, other things have to sacrifice, whether it's health, relationships, friends. To be the best at something and be laser focused 100%, something else. But that's not necessarily success in your eyes now. I can see that. And one of the things you mentioned that fell apart was your relationship. I'd love to dive into that a bit, because I think many real estate agents, get so focused on transactions and income and success, and they take their work home with them, and they're at the dinner table and they're on the phone, and they're losing those daily interactions with their family, their partner, and you're saying that's what happened to you. Like, can I get some, like, if you could go back to 2021 when you were that guy and you were ticking all those red boxes, but you can see now where your flaws were, what are some things that you would do differently with your relationship?
Okay, so let's talk about that. So here's a concept. As real estate agents, we are all obsessed with how do we get better and how do we write more business, right? How do we increase our, like yesterday, a lot of people were talking about, like, cost per hour, that sort of thing, your productivity. Do you know one of the most dollar productive things that we can do in real estate, but we never talk about it?
I'm going to assume it's something to do with relationships.
Yeah.
Would it be catching up with your team
No.
daily?
It's a loaded question. One of the most dollar productive things you can do in real estate is be a good partner to your partner. And I'll tell you why. If you're not a good partner to your partner and you sacrifice your relationship for your work, I got some news for you. Your fee split that you think you have now is half.
I didn't think of that.
Half.
Yeah, sure is.
So you can go and build an empire, but say goodbye to half of it. So when you weigh all that up, you need to learn, it's not an option anymore, to be present, to be a good partner, and to give your partner what your partner needs. Because if not, that 1 hour that I didn't know how to give my partner, that 1 hour would have been the most dollar productive thing that I could have ever done in my life. More dollar productive than what I did all day long. Think about that. Half is gone. Half is gone. Would you work the way you're working for half the amount of income?
Hell no.
No. So why don't we talk about this as an industry? Why don't we talk about that? Learning a skill set to be an agent, right next to that should be how to be a good partner. But we don't talk about that because we're so obsessed with the shiny shit and cars and watches and holidays and showing shit off on Instagram. Do you know when I got sick, how many of my Instagram followers came to see me?
Probably only your closest five
Yeah,
mates.
None. Anyone who came to see me knew me before Instagram. So like we spend all this time trying to project. Okay, how's that going for you when you're laying in a hospital bed? Ain't anyone coming to see me. So do people really care about that as much as like what we think? And that's just the desire to be like. So look, coming back to the relationship piece, for what it's worth, if it's okay. So I've actually just recorded an episode on my own podcast.
Yeah.
And I've interviewed my ex-wife.
Mate, I got to hear it.
So
Where do I find it?
I think it's just on Spotify.
It's on Spotify. What's it called?
The Oddie Potty.
The Oddie Potty.
And the first episode is my ex-wife. And I can tell you, it was a hard conversation. And for anyone who's listening to this, who may listen to that, I put everything on the table. And I think it's opened up a lot of conversation. It's given, agents some good insight into how they may affect their partner, but also it's given some partners some good insight into what agents go through. So it's mutually beneficial, but it's a very honest conversation with my ex-wife and it's what went wrong.
So hear that, agents. If you want to get some raw and real relationship advice from someone who's been there and done it all and made sacrifices that ended up costing him his relationship, check out the Oddie Potty on Spotify.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
I think it'll help.
Yeah, I'd love to. I'm going to listen to that. I'd love to listen to that, and I'll give you some feedback on it. So, what advice would you give? In your last 3 minutes, there's a lot of young agents sitting in the crowd yesterday. They're thinking, oh, I can't. My goal's to get up on AREC. You know the feeling when you were up and coming. You look at those speakers up on stage, and so many agents have that goal. I want to be on AREC. I want to be the best. What advice would you give to these young agents that aspiring to give it everything?
Yeah, I think you should go for it.
But
yeah, well, there's nothing wrong with aspiration. There's nothing wrong with wanting to set the world on fire. But my message is don't do it at the expense of your health. Don't do it at the expense of your 20s like I did. I don't have any travel memories in my 20s. I just worked. They should have been great memories. When I look at Jasmine and Jack now, they have incredible memories. Like they're doing so much in their life. So don't do it at the expense of your health or your relationship or, probably that crowd don't have children. Definitely not at the expense of your children because you don't want to do that.
That's not worth it, for sure.
No.
If you would go back to your younger self, say 10 years ago, now, would you say slow down a bit, mate, look after yourself more? You might do a bit less GCI, but you're going to live a fuller life. You're going to come out of this happier. Is that the direction you think you'd prefer to take as a younger agent?
Yeah, definitely. I think what I would say to myself is it's okay, again, to have that aspiration. I'm still aspirational too. I want to do 100 houses. I still love nice stuff. Like I haven't peeled back on anything like that. I love nice holidays and things like that. But what I would say is just go through that journey with intention, consciously, and don't do it. My 4 buckets in life are my health, for me, my children, which extends to the well-being of my ex-wife, because if she's not happy, my children aren't, happy. My work and my social engagements. Now, I understand those. I still think those priorities should still be the same, but I'm not taken away from the fact that the first 4 years of a real estate career is a grind. Of course you have to grind. You're going to have to go hard. But when you're doing that, just have the foresight to do it, where you schedule a little bit of time off and you give your brain a bit of a chance to calm, or do some practices like whatever it may be. Like exercise are non-negotiable for me. I think, and that's got nothing to do with success. My mum's in her mid-60s. The doctor tells her to do exercise. Like that's just what, that's good for all of us. So I would say go on that journey, try and set the world on fire, but figure out, the real flex is figure out how to do it, set the world on fire, but do it with good health, physical and mental health, by being a good partner, if you have a partner, and if you have children, again, probably not, that's not what you are, but if you have children, figure out how to do it with children as well, by being a good parent. That's what I'd say. But good health, specifically for those in their 20s, be successful, but with great health, and by learning how to be a great partner.
That's awesome. That's the best message we've had on this podcast all weekend. We're out of time. That was really enjoyable. A bit stoic. I love that. Adrian, everyone listening would have got heaps out of that. Again, the Oddie Potty, first episode with his ex-wife. Check that out if you want to hear some raw, real stuff about real estate relationships. And Adrian, thank you again for being on the Get Keen podcast.
Pleasure, Dan. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, man. Awesome. That was awesome. Thank you for tuning into the Get Keen podcast. If today's episode inspired you, please show your support with a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And make sure you subscribe on your favorite platform too. Don't stop there. Join our community of forward thinkers by connecting with me on social media at Dan_Lee_Plum. I'm looking forward to exploring more strategies and insights with you on your journey to the top. Until next time, keep getting keen.